I appreciate everyone's patience today. We started a little bit late. The Board of Education had a 4 p.m. meeting, and we needed to take a break, or else you were going to have a very hangry, anxious board. So I appreciate everyone's patience. And I will ask that everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's like we're in a stadium. I know, it's like a stadium. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Dr. Boddy? Dr. Kavanaugh? Present. Ms. Lilgy?
Present.
Mr. Lopez? Present. Ms. Moore?
Present.
Mr. Richardson? Dr. Rodriguez?
Present.
Ms. Williams? Ms. Willis?
Present.
Quorum is present.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. We are going to get started rolling with this agenda because we have quite a few important things in front of us this evening. The first item is additions to the agenda, for which we have none. Next would be public comment on agenda items, for which we have none. That brings us to presentations. So our first presentation this evening will be by Dr. Foster and her group from Eastern Sexton's Africa Engagement Workshop presentation. I would like to invite Dr. Foster and her guest to the chairs right in front of us.
Well, hello, everyone. I think everyone can hear me. I am delighted for us to be here. I have 3 of our outstanding students that participate in the program that we're going to talk about. And why don't we well, first of all, let them introduce themselves. And I also have Dr. Jose Jackson Malete, who is co-director of the MSU Alliance for Africa Partnership, which was part of the funding source. So why don't we start down on that end?
Good evening, my name is Molly.
Can you pick up that mic, and so we want to hear you.
Good evening, my name is Alana Gabriel from Eastern High School.
Is that mic on? No, it's not on. Okay, tell us again, Alana. I want to make sure they hear you.
Good evening, my name is Alana Gabriel from Eastern High School.
Hi, my name is Ree. I'm from Sesson High School.
Hi, my name is Jose Jackson Maleti. I am the co-director for the Alliance for African Partnership at Michigan State University.
Hello, hope everybody having a good day. My name is Jose Sampson from Eastern High School.
All right, well, I'll just use this one. Okay. And if we could just start with the slides, and you know, as a matter of fact, I think I'll work these up so I can stand up. If we just start with the slides, that'd be great. They gave us 20 minutes, so I'm going to talk very fast so that you can hear from those of us who are here. We're inside, so. Oh. Oh, okay, well, we'll start on the sides. Hopefully everybody can see. Well, we had the Africa Engagement Workshop. And this was funded by the Alliance for African Partnerships, the African Studies Center, the MSU Office of Institutional Diversity, and the MSU Department of Plant, Soil, and Microbial Sciences. And since this is not going to show on that, okay. So today I'm going to talk, as I said, very fast and furiously. I want to have some comments. I want to have comments from those who are here, from the students. And Mrs. Alvarado had an emergency, so she wasn't able to come, so she won't be here today. And Dr. Jose Jackson Malete is here. I had hoped, we had some parents that came to a couple of our events, but they weren't able to come today. So I thought if they were here, I'd let them speak too. But okay, so what were the goals of this project? Well, we wanted to increase student knowledge about Africa and the problems that intersect with my department, plant, soil, and microbial sciences. We wanted also to promote an accurate and positive image of Africa, to engage our students with visiting scholars from Africa. So our students, from high school students, met with, I think there were 12 visiting scholars from Africa. Also, I wanted to engage, well, the high school students have an opportunity to engage with our undergraduate and graduate students in our department. I can honestly say that we hope to convince them that they want to study in our department. But anyway, if not, at least make them aware. And also the undergraduate and graduate students, for them to have an opportunity to meet our high school students here in the district. So we had a flyer that went out. This started in fall. We had a flyer that went out. Students had an opportunity to learn a $400 stipend if they participated in the program. It went out to Eastern, Everett, and Sexton. And you can't see that tiny writing there, but it's telling them what they're going to have an opportunity to engage with, the fact that they're going to be writing a research paper, and they're going to be doing a professional style poster. We originally were going to finish in January, but we decided to extend a little, so we ended in March. And so the students, in order to participate, they had to write a paragraph or so explaining why they wanted to participate. So there was an option for them to do that. And we had applicants from Eastern and from Sexton. In addition to the things that I mentioned, I also was interested in getting them to participate in the World Food Prize Michigan Youth Institute, which was held just May 11th at Michigan State. I think this has been going on for 15 years. They said that they had never had any students from the Lansing School District, and so that disturbed me. So the students weren't required to be a part of this, but they were encouraged to be a part of it. So, and they all came through. Okay, so this was just telling you a little bit about that World Food Prize. In terms of our students, you can see the students that participated. We had 7 from Eastern, and we had Ree from Sexton. We started out with a couple more from Sexton, but one moved out of the district. One said she wasn't interested. And we also had a couple more from Eastern, but they also either moved out of the district. So that, you know, those things happen. I can tell you that I can't brag too much. There's no such thing as bragging too much about the students that participated. It's not possible. They were outstanding, and that was not just my opinion. In terms of the scholars that they had an opportunity to interact with, from Botswana, Kenya, Malawi, Mali, South Africa, Tanzania, and Uganda. So we interacted with them on 3 different occasions. In terms of the help from the school district, I want to make sure I announce Mrs. Alvarado was a gem. She's at Eastern. She came with the students. They came 3 times to campus. She came with the students. She helped maintain contact with the students, and she helped arrange the bus. And even when she was transferred from Eastern, she was committed and came back and helped us. Mrs. Murray is one of the teachers at Eastern, and she helped recruit some of the students. Mr. Farrell at Sexton help recruit students. And then the office staff at both of the schools were excellent in terms of assisting. And then Alana's parents came to 2 of the events. Did they come to the World Food Prize after? Okay, they came on campus for our closing, and then they came back again for the World Food Prize. And so it was interesting. It was good to see parents who had the time and the interest in doing that. Okay, this is just a shot of our first session at Michigan State. So you can see that our high school students, okay, here's Ree, they're mixed in with all the African scholars and others. And we were interacting, finding and getting acquainted, learning about their country, and then the students that same day decided what country they were going to work with, okay? And they followed the guidelines of the World Food Prize, which is you pick a country, you have to write about something about the country itself, the family, the relationships. You write a paper using the APA guidelines. Then you go to campus and you present your information in a small group, and they will select students who will go to Iowa and be part of it. And word has it that some of our students have been recommended. So we'll see. I'm hopeful. So that was our first event. You can see that same one. Again, some of our high school students. Natalie's at a ball game today, and I think she had a ball game too, Ava. And here's Alana, again, interacting. I think a room above back there, interacting with our scholars. And, I mean, some of them may never have met anyone from Africa. But to develop that relationship, they exchanged numbers so that they would be able to interact with them further. And so we worked on some things. Okay, this is just, I'm skipping forward. So we had 2 of those sessions at the schools, at the MSU. I went to the schools to assist the students because I did not want to put pressure and more work on the teachers. Okay, I knew they had a full plate. So this was, at the end, we had our closing, March 16th, and we had different presentations. Dr. Jose was there, also our assistant director of the International Students and Programs and others. And here you see some of our students and others in the audience. At the end, we had a chance to break bread together. They also presented posters, okay? They developed these posters. I had hoped to get some on the walls, but anyway, there was something else, and so I didn't get in here. So, but these are posters that the students developed around their research. And then we did it just as you would at a professional meeting, and that those students then had people come around and ask them questions, and they talked about their paper. With their posters, I can tell you honestly that the person at MSU, we had them done professionally at MSU, just like you were going to a conference. He went on and on about the high quality of the posters that the students did themselves, such that he even gave me a discount for the printing of them. But he was just really impressed. He couldn't believe that we had 9th high school students, doing this. So these are some of the people that were there for the presentation. And you can see our students standing next to their posters. Oops, sorry. Again, our students, all of these are students with their posters. And here you see just a snapshot of some of the individuals coming around to the students to have them explain and be able to ask questions or answer questions. The World Food Prize did not require posters. I required posters. So the World Food Prize, the lady was so impressed that she asked for our posters, and they were hanging at the World Food Prize on May 11th. So she was, again, everybody was blown away by the students. This is just a picture of all the students and the fact that they got a certificate. We also have this MSU graduate student, and another graduate student and an undergraduate back there, okay? So our students got a chance to interact, and again, I want them to see MSU, and hopefully they want to come and study. Now, this is just showing at the end of the World Food Prize. This is in the back is Norman Borlaug. He's the person that inspired the World Food Prize because of his work and because of the production of, because of that, we have cereals production greatly enhanced in the world. And so they're standing in front of that for the picture. And then I wanted this time, I don't think I used 20 minutes, I hope I didn't. Okay, so I'm going to ask, first I asked Dr. Jackson Malete, would you want to, I asked them, they said, well, what are we going to say? I just tell them a little bit about the program, what you thought, how you thought the students did. So.
Should I?
Either one.
Thank you so much, Dr. Foster. So, well, this was the first time that we were doing this program. We have a program within MSU called the African Futures Early Career Research Scholars Program. So this brings early career women scholars to MSU for a year. They get to strengthen their research, network with other scholars in their area, and they're here to go back to become mentors for the next generation of learners in Africa. And so it was fantastic that Eunice wanted us to bring them with these early scholars, right? These next generation of scholars if they would want to continue with their undergraduate work. I wanted to say this, I know she doesn't like me to say it, but I must bring it in that Eunice had the opportunity to use the grant that we gave her for her own personal exchange travel to Africa. She chose instead to use those funds to have a program with the Lansing School District. And I just want to congratulate her again. I know you don't like me to say it, but I think it is so unique that, you know, somebody would be that selfless to want to engage with students. I mean, she loves this. I know she has programs with other students, but thank you again. This was perfect. It really demonstrated how, you know, if we work together like this, we're able to really get accurate stories about a region of the world that is, you know, thought of very differently. And so I want to thank her and the students. I was also at the World Food Prize, and Jose was in my group, and he did a fantastic job. He has to manage time a little bit, but he did a really great job in presenting his work. I really liked his work, so I was very happy with that. I could see that, well, I mean, he knows a lot about Africa himself, but I saw that him and the other students did a fantastic job in really showing how much they learned over the weeks. So that's it for me. Thank you very much, Eunice. Thank you, students. We hope we could continue this with money from somewhere.
Did you hear that part? She said, we hope we can continue this with money from somewhere. All right, I'm going to go ladies first, and I'm going to ask Alana. Now, she had said, I asked, did you want me to ask questions or her to talk? And she said, you can ask questions, but I'm going to reverse it and let her talk. All of the students, I will ask questions if you want me to. All of the students did a fantastic job. And I was, again, it's not just me saying that. Other people who were there, the World Food Prize lady came when they presented at MSU, and she was just blown away. All right, Alana, why don't you tell us why you were interested in this program? Why you decided?
So my teacher is Miss Murray, and she kind of just one morning was like, hey, this is a really cool project and program. People should join it. And so she convinced a couple of my friends to join it, and I was curious, so I took a flyer, and as I read it, it just started to seem really intriguing to me and something I wanted to learn more about. And so I also recruited a couple of my friends.
You want to tell them which country you studied?
So I chose Mali, and at first I was going to choose Senegal, but it kind of got eliminated from our options because we didn't have a representative. But I feel like Mali was also just a really interesting country for me. It wasn't one that I had, like, I'd heard of it, but I hadn't really learned about it much. I only knew the name and vaguely where it was in Africa, and I didn't really know much more. And I feel like especially doing the research, but also talking to a representative and a scholar from that country was really helpful.
Okay. All right, Ree? He told me he wants to talk on his own, so.
The reason I did the program was so I can see.
A little bit louder.
Oh, the reason I did the program so I can try something new instead of just staying in school all day. And the country I picked was Uganda because it was a country I heard about a lot, but I didn't really know a lot about it. And I had a friend who used to live there, so I was like, why not? You know.
Okay.
Mind if I stand up?
No.
First, let me reintroduce myself. I'm Jose Sampson. First person I think is Dr. Foster. Without her, we wouldn't have been able to do all this. I can remember the days she used to come to Eastern, pressuring us. Have you finished the essay? Have you finished the poster? So first, let's give her a big round of applause real quick. Yeah, I want to say this program is a very good program, especially with me being a first generation refugee here in this country. I felt really unconnected with the motherland. Doing this program really helped me learn more about my country, which is Tanzania, which is what I chose to do. It helped me really learn more knowledge about it. And it really helped me just know more about it. So I say this program is a very, very good program. There was times where I felt like I wanted to quit, because we're still in high school. Doing 5-page essays is not an easy thing, but I liked it. I like what it taught me. I like what it taught me. It got me ready for college. Now I can say while doing this, I know how to effectively write a good paper. There's another thank you, Dr. Foster. I gotta give you your praise. You're a doctor. So yeah, I would honestly say this is a very, very positive program. I would say for the coming years, it'll be very nice for the whole Lansing School District, not just Eastern or Sexton, to actually try to pursue this program. You know, it's really is. It has even though there's a $400 stipend, I could say there's many more. It's way more valuable than that $400 that they gave us to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, with that, I'll conclude and again just say that if any, I always tell people we have outstanding students in our district. And so they represent a few of the many that we have. And Lansing had not participated in the World Food Prize before, but we are on the map. They know us. They were impressed by our students, and I am hopeful, well, I don't know, that we will have at least one or two that will be selected to go to Iowa. And then I don't know what the prizes are in Iowa, but I know that someone who's a faculty member in my department participated in this program. She was in Michigan and was selected, went to Iowa, and then she said she went to, I think, the Philippines or something and spent a month, and now she's a professor. So whether they decide to study in our area or not, it's okay. They've learned more and they've grown, and I just enjoyed coming. I was tired some days. They didn't tell you that I texted them. I called them, but I wanted them to do well. I didn't want them to participate and not do well for our part or the World Food Prize, and they just showed out. So thank you very much for letting us present you.
I have to say a big thank you to Dr. Foster and her championing this, and yeah, I'm open the floor if the board has any questions, so not quite yet. But just a big thank you to Dr. Foster for catching me and asking if she could present this information to the board, because it was very incredible. So I would like to open it up for questions of the horseshoe, if there's any. I'm going to start with Dr. Kavanaugh.
Hi, thank you so much for this presentation. This was great. I'm really just going to make a comment so that everyone here and listening at home can kind of be oriented to how special this is. So I am a professor at Michigan State, and it would be pretty cool and exciting for an undergraduate to make a research poster. That's usually something that our master's or doctoral students do. I've never heard of a high schooler doing something like that. So I just want to orient everyone towards how special that is. When you attend a professional research conference, the way that information is presented is often through one of these research posters. So I, as a faculty member, have presented research posters to showcase my work as well. So I just want everyone to know that really is an incredible accomplishment, and I want all of the students who participated to know that you have such a leg up if you do decide to attend college or to go into a research-oriented career.
Good, super.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Richardson?
I just got to say, having a master's degree in the communication and arts at Michigan State University, if this thing doesn't work out, we got to have you over there. That was an impressive job there. If Dr. Body wasn't taking all the keynote speeches, you got a real shot. You got a real shot.
Anything else? All right, thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And keeping attention on our students this evening, our next presentation is with the junior board. So I am going to invite maybe Ms. Curl. Okay, Sergio, okay.
Okay. Good evening. Tonight we're here to make a brief presentation about the Junior Board of Education. Before we go any further, we want to say a big thank you to our board member, Robin Moore, for all the work and support and participation with the junior board that you've given this year. With us tonight, we have Ms. Claudia Cabrera Rodriguez and Ms. Kerry Christian, who have done a great job in coordinating this effort this year. We also have the three junior board officers who will also make the presentation. We're very grateful for this participation. We're also very happy that participating in this kind of activity will provide you many, many great skills in the future in your lives. So we thank you very much. We thank the parents for being here tonight and all the other students. And you guys did the work, so you take on. Let's go.
Good evening, everyone. I will be getting us started on the presentation today. Just waiting a couple seconds to get it on the screen. And we just want to say from the beginning, we're really thankful to be here and thankful for you making the space for us to have this presentation tonight. So we can go to the next slide, and we're going to start off with the history of Junior Board. So Junior Board is a long-standing tradition here in Lansing. It's been going on for 20 years as a student organization, and we have, oh, thank you. And we have a really fun fact for this year. The logo that you see up in the top right of the screen is the very first Junior Board of Education logo, and we established it this year with the help of our Junior Board students. So the purpose of Junior Board is to give the student perspective to the Board of Education, and they represent their peers and the needs of their peers. They serve as ambassadors to the Lansing Board of Education and will be responsive to the questions, the needs, and the insights of the Junior Board of Education.
Hi, my name is Naomi Johnson. I'm the president of Junior Board, and I am a senior at Everett High School. Next to me is Antonio Lehan Navarro. He's a junior at Easton High School, and he is our vice president. And next to him is our secretary, Washington De Jesus Sampario May, freshman at Eastern High School. And our participant structures consist of 3 high schools, Eastern, Everett, and Sexton, 1 freshman, 1 sophomore, and 1 junior, and 1 senior, and 1 staff advisor each. We consist of 4 middle schools, Dwight Rich, Rexford, Post Oak, Gardner, which have 2 7th graders, 2 8th graders, and 1 staff advisor. And of course, we have our Board of Education liaison, Ms. Robin Moore, and our 3 district advisors, Mr. Sergio Keck, Ms. Carrie Christian, and Ms. Claudia Cabrera Rodriguez.
Hello. Oh, hello. Okay. Starting with our meeting schedule, our meetings take place on the 2nd Tuesday of every month at this very building. Our meetings are scheduled at alternating times at 10 a.m. to about 1 p.m. to ensure students are not missing instruction during the same classes each month. Our meeting structure, we try to mimic the Board of Education, how you guys like to do it, and this includes the meeting agenda, minutes, and our president runs the meeting, of course. And we vote on important matters. Sorry, I'm usually not this nervous. Additionally, each school gives a school report that includes the following items: the school info, school name, date, members, and all that stuff, good news, areas to improve, and supports needed.
Good afternoon. My name is Washington Sampaio. Each year, the Junior Board of Education is involved in a district-wide initiative to raise awareness for a current. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. But we picked Mental Health Mondays. It's okay to not be okay. We spread awareness for mental health by wearing green on Mondays, and we gave out bracelets to the schools, and we also learned from we learned breathing techniques from Jennifer West to help us manage stress. Junior board also shares school reports to really dig deep into like what each school is up to and what problems or like improvements are going on in each school. And we did take some initiatives with our spring events. We had the Lansing School District PCAC meeting presentation on April 26th, 2023. The Lansing School District Board meeting presentation, May 18th. Oh, that's today, May 18th, 2023. And we had the 3.5 honors banquet. It was a blast.
So my name is Carrie. I'm a co-advisor with the junior board, and it's been a privilege. This is my second year. And so the mental health awareness is actually, this is our second year. The first year was more of a planning stage for us, and the second year was more of an implementation stage. In the slides, and if you do get that virtually, you can click on a link that was in there for the Mental Health Monday that shows the resources that were provided not only to staff but also to students to help them with their, to handle and manage their mental health and to encourage them to reach out when they need help. I also want to share that the reason that this particular topic was brought up is our students. This is a type of students that they don't necessarily talk about this, but it's really important for you to know, is that our students started to think about gun violence. They started to think about suicide. They started to think about some of the things that our students are struggling with, and they came up with this overarching topic of something that could potentially make an impact to help stop some of this, and it was to focus on their mental health. Not only did they recognize that students struggle with mental health, but we all do at some point. And so we're really, really proud of this effort. This is the last year for this, but we hope that it will continue. So this is the second year that the 3.5 Honors Banquet actually focused on that. So each board member and also each executive team member received a bag that was something that was given out at the 3.5 banquet. The Honors Banquet celebrates our top honors of the entire district who have a 3.5 or higher. We had 33 students and their families come and celebrate. We had entertainment, great food. We decided to choose comfort food, and our junior board chose all of these things. They chose the invitation. They chose the color scheme, which we did green, because actually May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And there are some green ribbons in the back for you all to take when it's time for you to go, to remind you that it's okay to not be okay. Inside those bags, there's 2 bracelets, one to keep, one to share, that say it's okay not to be okay. And there's also a sticker that has like a sensory, it's kind of a texture to show you, like to remind you to do breathing techniques. And they really, it echoes what Miss Jennifer West taught our students, that they took back to their schools to teach some of their students how to just get grounded back in when they're feeling anxious. So it's been a really, really rewarding year, and I had to share that because this 3.5 Honors Banquet was not only honoring our top students, but it was also really celebrating the efforts that we've put forth this year. And at this time, on this board, there's a lot of students that are named, and we're not going to name all of them tonight. We have quite a few that could not make it, but at this time we're going to honor and recognize their service. So if Sergio Cat could come up, that would be great.
Thank you. If President Willis and Ms. Moore, if you can come up here also and help us pass the certificates and shake hands, would be great.
I'm not sure. We are going to want to get a picture afterwards, so where would you like them to just kind of follow in? Okay, great. So at first, I want to honor two of our advisors that are here tonight. These are adult staff members who are advising our junior board students, helping them coordinate at their school level, listening to what the students are saying and what the students would like to the Board of Education to hear. They reported on a Google form that the Board of Education has access to, so they can see what's happening. And our advisors are very valuable in that. So Pam Collins is here tonight. I'd like to honor Pam. She's been doing junior board for a long time. Kristen Small-Grimes is here tonight. Pam is from Everett. Kristen is from Wexford. Yes, please. I would also like to honor Trevor Dean. This is the second year that I've been able to work with Trevor, and I absolutely love him. He's from Gardner. Lugman. I apologize if I slaughter your last name. Is it Camus? Did I say it? Is it Camus? Lugman Camus. Thank you, Lugman. And last but not least, we have our junior board officers. Their input and leadership is really, really important. And when you become an officer, it's really, really important that they think about everything that our students bring to the table that we want to share with the board. And they've just done a really great job being sensitive to the voice of their peers. And we want to honor them tonight with jackets. And not only will these jackets remind them that they're the voice of the students, but will also show other people that they can be a part of something really great with the student voice to our board. So I would first like to bring up Washington De Jesus Sampaio May, who is our secretary. These jackets have their name on it and what school they represent. Antonio Leja Navarro, who is our vice president. And the way that our junior board structure works is whoever our vice president is will automatically be our president next year. So congratulations. And last but definitely not least, Naomi Johnson, who is our junior board president, among other hats that she wears for the district. Our vice president and our secretary are from Eastern High School, and Naomi is from Everett. Thank you so much.
We're going to take a picture. Every board members, if you could join us, we're going to take a picture.
All right, everybody looking at me. We'll take a few photos so we get everybody's eyes open. Dr. Kavanaugh, I can't see. There we go. Oops. All right. We sure will. There we go. We got it.
Thank you all very much. And Naomi, do you mind coming back to the mic and just telling us all what your plans are in June? Because I'm really excited about this. I think she should share.
Yes, I plan on going to Columbia next year. I plan on getting my bachelor's degree in political science on a pre-law track, and I hope to get my master's in law. So.
And not to brag, but she's an Everett Viking, but so you know, thank you very much. And a scholarship to Columbia. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to introduce a guest we have here, our great-granddaughter, Valencia, who's here. She just left. Oh, well, she's our great-granddaughter, is here in support of her uncle, Mr. Leija over there, so just a little one. She's too bad she's asleep, okay? Either way, she did come. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members? I do. Ms. Moore.
It's been an honor serving as your liaison for the board, but I just want to say I'm so proud of all of you and our absent students that aren't here. I could say so much. Naomi, your prom pictures, you had a goat. Be the example. You are leading the path. And I appreciate everybody and what everybody has done, but I don't know, I'm just so proud to be in this space with you all and to serve as your board liaison. So do we have any, is everybody a senior or just Naomi?
Just Naomi.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So I'll see you guys maybe next year if I'm still in this position. Yes, maybe so. But it's been real.
Like 3 more years.
It's been real, and I wish you all the luck. And if you need anything, if anybody's coming to LCC, hey, look me up, okay? I'm in the library. All right.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, I just want to thank everyone in the junior board for the voice and the input and the support that you guys do and the role that you play. And big thank you to our advisors for really reinvigorating and breathing life into this year. Really appreciate it. That brings us to our next agenda item, which is our report from Superintendent, Mr. Schuldiner.
All right, good evening, everyone. You know, a good speaker knows when there's a lot on the agenda and there's a lot of people in the audience that are not him. So I just want to make this very brief. I think what you saw today, 2 incredible examples of student participation, one with the project with Dr. Foster, the second with the junior board, is that when we have high expectations of children, they will reach them. When we ask of our students, they will do. One of the things that we have to recognize, though, is that we might not necessarily be asking enough of our students. They will rise. They will do great work. But if we continue to have low expectations for our kids, we're never going to get there. And so what I hope you saw today is that there's greatness in Lansing, there's incredible fortitude and talent and strength, and that all we need to do is set that bar and ask our students to do it, and they will. As Dr. Kavanaugh said, the type of work that was being asked of high school students was graduate level work. And they did it. Now, they did it with prompting and support and all of the other things, but that's kind of our job, right? And so the more that we recognize that today is just a blip of the incredible talent of the 10,000 plus kids in Lansing, the incredible teachers in Lansing, the incredible community members of Lansing who care about our students enough to give back, is that this should be the kind of clarion call of all of us as a community asking our students to do more with support, and that if we have those low expectations of kids, guess what? They'll reach those too. And so, you know, the junior board is usually in this room. They spend hours and hours doing work, holding themselves to high expectations, having orderly meetings. I mean, this board is amazing, but you should see some school boards around this country. They could learn a lot from the junior board. And the fact that they're able to be so great just, I think, should allow all of us to know that the Lansing School District, in some respects, right, is back, right? There's been a lull. There's been a lot going on lately, but now you're seeing, as the president said, kind of breathing new life into the programs that we have. So I just want to say how proud I am of the students, of the staff, of our community. This is how we become great again, right? This is how we are amazing. This is how Lansing kind of gets to that next level. And, you know, it's it's not just about, kind of hoping and dreaming and thinking it can happen. It's about saying, what are the specific projects that we can do, the specific programs that we can do that show that we have this talent so that we can continue to move forward. So really, congratulations. It's awesome. Now that I've been here for more than about 10 seconds, I've actually know a lot of these students. Naomi is part of another group of students that I have where I actually just sit with high school students to ask what's going on and their voices being heard. And it's just incredible how much students understand about our district and understand how we can continue to do great work. So thank you for that. The next thing, again, I do, as always, this is my burden to bear. For gas cards, we have 2,874, CATA 743, and Dean we're at 374 with 154 on the wait list. I will say, again, the move to CATA has been incredible. The high school attendance rate this year is higher than it was even pre-COVID. The idea of empowering high school students to have the ability to get to school, but also if they miss a CATA bus, there's another one. If they miss the Dean bus, it usually does not come back for you. But I also want to highlight that in the last month or so, there has been quite a lot of bus driver absences, and there has been a lot of non-pickups by the yellow bus, and I do apologize for that. That is one of the reasons why we are looking at a lot of different ideas of how we can get all of our students. With high school, we've got it. You've got gas cards, you've got CATA cards, and just to show you how incredible that is, it's not like other school districts do that, where you have gas cards. A lot of districts, though, that have public buses have their high school kids ride on them. But what I ask of this community is that we need to figure out the best way to make sure that all of our students get to school every day. And we appreciate that if a school bus doesn't show up, that makes it really hard. So we're going to try to really think critically this summer about how we can get our transportation to be even better than it is right now, because when we see a school bus doesn't run, attendance goes down, and that's not acceptable, because a kid in school is where they need to be, and if we're not providing that, we've got to be critical and thoughtful about it. So I do hope that starting next year, we're going to be able to do some things that allow not only the high school students, but also the K-8 students to get, school buses, of course, not CATA, but how we can start to think about routes, how we can think about process, how we can think about areas for where kids go to school, so that they can be able to easily get to school. That's very, very important. One of the things that we talk about all of the time is if kids have to show up, and it is our responsibility to do that. So that's why I have, without fail, read these numbers, because this is just, again, to remind us that the job is not done with this, is that we have to make sure that transportation is there. The last thing I will say, and we have a video, is the role of a superintendent, of course, is to try to be an educational leader for not just the school district but the community, but also certainly to represent and to recognize when important members of the community who have made a tremendous impact on us all are gone. And so we're lucky enough to have a video to honor Dr. Carnegie that I'll turn over to John to talk about. But the 2 seconds I'll say, and I certainly wrote about it this week in the superintendent's newsletter, is that just 2 days before he died, the man was on stage telling kids and supporting kids and caring about kids, and that's just an incredible thing. And what I said, in the newsletter that I'll say again is, when we are part of a community, when we believe that the work we do is for our students and for all of us, we're invigorated. And when we're educators and we stay in the community, we live in the community, we care about the community, when we're just community members and we think about our schools, and Dr. Carnegie really represented that idea of, he was a principal for many, many years, very, very important. But even when he stopped doing that, he was always part of the community. He was always part of the Lansing School District. And so I hope that all of you, be it students, students or staff or parents or just, community members, is that you think of the Lansing School District as yours. Now that the three of you have these awesome jackets, wear them with pride. As you notice, I almost always wear this jacket, is that the more that we recognize that we're part of a community and the Lansing School District community, the better that we can be together. So John hit it, I guess, is the best way to do it.
He was the principal here for 22 years and my first boss. He's an outstanding person who's given so much to our community and to Sexton High School. And if I can have Dr. Clyde Carnegie come to the stage, please do, man.
Well, I've known Dr. Carnegie since I was a young man in middle school, meeting him on different events. Once I started working for the district, Dr. Carnegie recruited me to work here at Sexton High School, and I'm really glad he did. I had the opportunity to work under Dr. Carnegie, his leadership, for 7 years before he retired, and I'm now the principal of Sexton High School, and I owe a lot of that to Dr. Carnegie's mentorship and everything he has done for me and my family, this school, the school district, and this community. It will be forever grateful, and I know I will always be grateful to him. I truly miss him. I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to have a relationship with him and a friendship with him, and I love him and will miss him dearly.
As you know, I live right across the street, and every day that I'm alive, I thank God to see the school and to see you.
I was a student here in 83 through 85, and he was my principal, and plus my grandmother was the president of the Lansing School Board, and so they were really close, and it's just sad. I just want to let the family know that, they're in our prayers, and it's just a tough one, and I lost my dad in December 13th, and he was 83 years old, and it's not easy, but God is in control of everything, and we all have to go one day. But I just want everyone to know that all the family know that they're in my prayers, and it's just a loss for the whole community. Dr. Carnegie was a pillar here, and we're just going to miss him, and we love him.
Dr. Carnegie was such a blessing to have coming here to Sexton High School the last 4 years that I've been here. He was very sincere, honest, helpful, always walked over and came in such a polite way. So what a blessed man he is, as well as sincere condolences from me, myself, Ms. Scott, to his family. Thank you.
I believe, and with me many, that Dr. Carnegie was sent to this world to do good things for others. He loves Lansing, and he belonged to many, many different organizations, and especially he was for many years a commissioner of the Lansing Police Department. And there he protected justice for all. As an educator, Dr. Carnegie dedicated his life entirely to give the students the best that he has and direct them for a real future. And the student told me today that he changed the spirit of the Walter Friends many years ago when he started to be a principal. At Sexton High School, he lived just there next to the school, symbolizing that he and his family and everything that he is and he had is part of the educational system. He did so many things to others, but not big ones. He did so many small things, little things to everybody. If you count them, it's a multitude of good things that he gave to the people. Even the night before he passed, he was giving to a student a scholarship for her graduation. Dr. Carnegie, thank you for your life. Thank you for what you did. And I am sure that what you did to others, these others are doing the same to their neighbors. Thank you.
All hail to thee, dear Sexton, we proudly raise our voice, almighty chorus echoing in honor of the red and white, enshrined in our hearts forever, our memories fond and true. Our song will unite us as we sing all hail to you.
Thank you, John, for putting that together, and the comms team. Thank you, Dr. Carnegie, for your generations of support. That is my report.
That was powerful. Thank you. I think about last week at the board meeting when I said that Dr. Carnegie's legacy is greater than just what was created here in Lansing because of the ripple effects and spider webs of everything that he's created. And I've learned that even more so over the past week as I've heard people reflect and share on his memory. But Dr. Rodriguez, your words of saying that Dr. Carnegie was brought here to this earth to help others, I think summarizes everything well. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Taking a moment, did any other board members have any comments? Sure, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, it's true. The superintendent mentioned that he was at the Latino Advisory Committee celebration, and he said some real powerful words there. And I did have a chance to speak to him before the program. We sat down and talked about long time of collaborating with the school district since I came here with my family in '84. And we were in various committees working together, and he was always at our meetings of the Chicano Advisory Committee at the time, he and his staff. He was very loyal and just supportive of students primarily, and also obviously the community. So I'm grateful that I had a chance to speak to him and that we had that conversation. Then knowing that 2 days later he passed, that was, anyway, that's.
Thank you. I'm going to move us on the agenda, which brings us to our routine matters and committee reports. So first we will have our Finance Committee update with an apology to Ms. Lilji for standing her up for our committee meeting yesterday, but I will turn it over to her for our Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Madam President. The detailed treasurer's report for the period of April 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2023 is attached to this agenda, and here are the highlights. The beginning cash and investment balance at the beginning of April was $33,232,121. Our receipts for that time period totaled $16,733,063, while disbursements equaled negative $26,278,449. Our net interfund transfers totaled $11,071,433 in interest from fund investments to the student and bond funds, as well as journal entries to remove the due to, due froms, in all funds. The monthly transfer to the general fund for the 2022 and 2019 bond expenses was $428,078. The ending general fund cash and investment balance on April 30th, 2023 was $35,186,247. The general fund's cash and investment balance is $1,090,505 less as compared to the same time last year. And now, the favorite part of the treasurer's report that I get to share with you all is donations. We received from the Capital Area United Way for RIF a donation of $234.20. From Reading for Education, a donation to Kavanaugh School for $101.67. From Michigan State University, a donation to our CTE program of $1,000. The Blackbaud and Ecolab gave a donation to the Lansing School District of $10. And Mark Voss Agency and Farm Bureau gave a donation also to Kavanaugh School for $200. And the donations for April totaled $1,545.87. We want to thank all community members for their support. And Madam President, this concludes the April 2023 Treasurer's Report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from board members? Just your friendly reminder that this treasurer's report will be on tonight's consent agenda. That brings us to our equity committee report. So I'm going to take a page from our superintendent's school book and join the equity committee at the table as we queue ourselves up for our presentation, because I brought a presentation for my report, so I'm just kidding. I didn't do anything, I had help. All right. Good evening, everyone. I am going to have us start with introductions of members of the Equity Committee, but what you have before you tonight is a representation of the board's Equity Advisory Committee that was put into place by this board at the end of last year. We are 1 year, 12 months out from receiving our equity report, which puts us almost 2 years out. No, it puts us almost 3 years out from the original resolution that was passed by the board. What we have done over the last 8 months or so is take a deep dive into the equity report that was completed with our friends at West Ed. And this evening we are going to do a deep dive into what we've learned and what we've uncovered and some recommendations from the board. I'm going to start with on my right and ask members of the committee to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm LaDonna Mask. I am currently principal of Kindon Elementary School.
Hello, my name is Carlton Evans. I am an equity consultant, and I am a Lansing resident.
Eunice Foster, professor at Michigan State University and also a Lansing resident.
Dr. Sarah O'Neill, Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, a Lansing resident.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am Dr. McKay, Urban Leader Fellow here with the Lansing School District.
I'm Emily Brown, Principal at Forest View and also a Lansing resident.
CJ Hassel, Student Support Specialist at Wexford Montessori, Lansing resident.
Hi, I'm Kristen Small, and I'm a teacher and resident in Lansing.
Hi, I'm Jessica Day, and I'm the compensatory educator for the district.
I'm Kendall Nishibayashi, CRPBIS interventionist with the STAR grant, and I'm a Lansing resident.
Good evening. My name is Brandy Jones. I'm the supervisor of the STAR grant with the Lansing School District, and I am an aspiring Lansing resident.
And there is a familiar face on the screen that may look familiar to many folks in this room. Introducing.
Hi, I'm Nathan Burrows. I'm a former member of the Lansing School Board and an educational researcher focused on public policy related to inequality. I'm a former Lansing resident. Greetings from Oregon.
Thank you, Dr. Burrows. He just couldn't quit us, so we appreciate his continued work to support the district. With that, I'm going to turn over to Dr. O'Neill.
Absolutely. So we would like to take the time to say thank you for giving us this audience. The crew before you is a group of 24. These are the folks that could make it this evening. When you have 24 voices in a room passionate about DEI, it's intense. We meet on the 3rd floor, and you probably hear vibrations across the hallway if you're in the building. We have very dedicated folks, and from the beginning, we have been intentional to make sure that all voices are represented at each level of the system, community and student voices involved, and we have a waiting list of people that want to be on this committee. So the work is very, very passionate. Before you, you will see the demographics that the committee comprises of, as well as the student demographics that we serve. We wanted to be intentional, and we wanted to highlight how diverse the committee is for the decisions and recommendations that we're putting forth for you to review. Absolutely. So I'm going to start with Carlton. There you go.
Thank you. Usually when a client asks me to talk about DEI, I tell them that I need 8 hours. Today I have 3 minutes. DEI is not about addition. Adding a DEI office over here and thinking the job is done is not real DEI. If that's all you're doing, you're just putting lipstick on a pig. True DEI is about transformation, transforming the institution. And you cannot transform the institution without changing the people and the culture. Because it doesn't matter what policies you institute if the culture does not change. Culture eats policy. That change starts with each one of you. Each of us needs to look at, why do I act this way? Why do I think this way? This is called introspection. And when you are introspective, you learn things about yourself. Some of those things you will like, some of them you will not like. This new knowledge of self leads you to change some things. You know better. You now know better. And once you know better, you do better. That's what DEI is. Introspection that leads to enlightenment, that leads to doing better. Transformative DEI starts with each one of you. The culture change must start at the top.
Dr. Burrows.
Yeah, I'm not going to take too much time. I have an echo, so I apologize. The key thing to really understand when you're looking at problem equity is that it's intersectional and it's embedded. You cannot just focus on one element, whether it's curriculum and instruction, or the engagement of parents, or teacher training, or climate and culture. You can't focus on one element, and there's absolutely positively no silver bullet. So what you have to do is build a system for ongoing improvement that focuses on equity, that makes equity an intrinsic part of everything you're trying to do in the district. So what we're going to be talking about are a couple of small steps, but what's more important is building a system over the long term and being really realistic about what a long, slow, incremental process is going to be.
We will begin our work this evening with onboarding, meaning we are being intentional from the moment that we bring new staff members into our system to have the DEI lens. Let me apologize ahead of time. The slides are a bit wordy. We know that's not best practice. However, we felt it important that you have all of the information in front of you so that when you go back and refer and discuss, that you would have it before you. We want to show folks that join our system that the culturally responsive lens is an expectation. Not that you have it all the way figured out. We will support you in that work, but that will be the expectation when you are in front of our kids. So we want to begin that from when we onboard new employees. We have a project right now, starting the new teacher project, and we have several departments involved in this work. It's excellent work. And part of the work was to survey our new teachers to collect some data around how DEI could help the system and to retain all new teachers that are effective and highly effective, but also to be intentional with how we can retain more teachers of color. So when we looked at this data, we saw that our 3-year retention rate currently in 2022 up to now is about 70%. When we asked the new teachers, 31% of them cite that they plan to stop teaching at LSD in the next 2 years. That's a deeper conversation that's happening, and we hope to turn that data around. But what is exciting through the data that we did want to highlight is that we're retaining more teachers of color than their white counterparts. This is new, and this is change, and this is an opportunity for us to start making some shifts to help that number grow even more intensely. The work that you see this evening is intense, but we want you to know that it's not all inclusive. We have pages and pages and pages of recommendation and work ready to roll, but here is a beginning phase that we will start with.
Hello? Fabulous. Hi. So, as you will recall, the powerful board resolution of July 2020, where you address racism within the district. We believe it's time for action, and that a great step in ensuring staff understands the district's goals is to intentionally include culturally responsive questioning during the interview process. We have some examples up on the screen, and we want to discover during this process the experience that these people have, but also these questions will kind of identify the willingness to learn for those we are onboarding, and it will also identify those that are not a good fit for our district and what we want it to show to our community. We propose that during the onboarding of new LSEA staff, that the DEI language and resources are referred to throughout, with emphasis to the relevance to our community, alongside providing a copy of Cultivating Genius, an Equality Framework for Culturally and Historically Responsive Literacy, and Grading for Equity for all staff whenever they join the district. We suggest that this is provided to new staff that are onboarding during the fall initially, so they can look it over and then they can ask questions during the DEI presentation. We propose also in the onboarding process that the bus tour continues and is using the EAC members as tour guides and makes a conscious effort to highlight local landmarks with historical significance towards our marginalized populations to spark using locally and relatability in our teaching. Many new hires are new to Lansing, therefore we want Lansing to teach us about Lansing. Alongside the bus tour, we want to invite our BIPOC families to come and share their Lansing. We want our marginalized families to tell our future educators what they want for their students and share their stories, successes, and struggles to further build community and cultural responsiveness. This could either be achieved by guest speakers or by a pre-recorded video. Thank you.
So you can see here the 2 books that we're recommending. And we know there are different paths into racial equity capacity within our staff. We can specifically train for color consciousness, culturally relevant teaching, identifying and disabling personal bias, etc., during staff PD. But additionally, we can create a required curriculum that is filled with units that create an awakening within the students and within the staff themselves. We can strengthen our writing curriculum to not just include student voice, but rather to emphasize it, including ideas such as fifth graders using seniors' essays in parts of their studies, third graders using fifth graders' essays and viewpoints in some of their studies. We can include financial literacy as year-long themes within mathematics and economics at every grade level. We can rethink our social studies curriculum to include Lansing and Michigan's failures to dismantle oppression. Think about redline housing, the destruction of the I-496 corridor, and the childhood and life of Malcolm X. But more importantly, we can rethink our curriculum to include our leaders and our heroes. We can include Michigan's Black Literary Societies of the 1800s, Sodexo Magic Corporation, Senator Sarah Anthony, Commissioner Miles Johnson, all graduates here who could tell their stories, and we can embed that in our curriculum. We can tell the stories and the economics of Black-owned businesses, Black-led nonprofits, and of course, let us not forget Mr. Ferguson at Moneyball Sportswear. The list of what we could be including and teaching our students goes on and on. Now, thinking of teachers learning, we use the Marzano evaluation tool for classroom teachers, and over the years, we have watched cultural relevance, culturally responsive teaching, go from being a single element that sat out there among 72 elements, now being embedded within a shortened, more concise tool that we're now using today. We know that LSEA staff uses the Marzano tool. We have other bargaining units that use other tools, but we recommend that we center all evaluations around the language and wording, you can see some here, that highlights cultural relevance, anti-bias, and so on. We want to draw, during PD and so on, explicit connections for all staff on how closing the achievement gap requires active dismantling of racist beliefs. And we want to keep, first and foremost, one of my favorite Marzanos, and it's not up there, but the element that says, under conditions for learning, that we will establish and maintain effective relationships in a student-centered classroom.
In regard to professional development, the systems review found that district staff turnover often disrupts long-term commitment and implementation of professional learning. The district professional development tends to be one-off instead of digging deeply, ongoing learning and support. Some root causes include educator belief that math and English language arts professional development take priority over this work, and we miss the connection with equity work leading to student achievement overall in the areas of math and English language arts. Often the burden of implementation of this professional development falls inequitably on Black staff. We recommend ongoing professional development for all staff to include restorative practices, CRPBIS, culturally responsiveness, equity, and anti-bias work. We recommend lifting up learning opportunities within the Lansing school districts that show positives that we are doing. And tonight's presentations just really showed that. Dr. Foster's work and the junior board, we need to get those things celebrated and lifted up beyond this room. We recommend commitment to long-term investments in building staff capacity around equity and cultural responsiveness, including new staff and making sure that it is ongoing each year when we get new staff.
So we know we need to work creatively within Article 16 of the LCA contract, the instructors, teachers contract. And we need to do that so that we can create exciting, inclusive, capital city proud units for our students at every grade level. Now, Article 16 of that contract guarantees the role of teachers in selecting curriculum materials and approving what is taught. This is done through our steering committee structure as well as our instructional council. And these various committees and our instructional council are chaired by principals and teachers. So we are recommending that any leader that's involved in the creation of curriculum go through anti-bias training. We recommend a deepened training for all staff involved in the selection of social studies materials as they deal with history and economics. We recommend the purchase of the books, Grading for Equity and Culturally Responsive, Creating Genius. And finally, we'd like to see, a recommendation would be to pull the template out of our Cultivating Genius book, as well as the Marzano template for lesson and unit planning. This is a very specific recommendation. Those two templates balanced together then can become the basis for a final recommendation we have, which is to create a system for sharing standards-based year-long plans that include culturally responsive units from the teachers who are ready to write those units. We now have the technology to do that and to share that material across the district, still utilizing the structures within the steering committee format in Article 16.
Just mentioned, there are teachers who are developing materials already and utilizing it, an excellent material. So we recommend an opportunity for LSEA authorship of culturally responsive units of study. Now, each of these units would need to meet certain criteria. Teaching to grade level Common Core standards, encompassing the historically responsive literacy framework within all components of the workshop model. Inclusive student voice. I'm going to read these because they're extremely important. The willingness of the author to be videotaped to support colleagues who need to see these units in action, not just hear about them, but see them. Teacher authorship displayed on every page and copyright protected. We want teachers to receive credit for the work that they're doing. Teachers bringing those units before the Equity Advisory Committee for feedback and final approval. So there's a process that would need to be undertaken in order for these materials to be used. The approved units would be uploaded into the Atlas Curricular Management System and available for use by every LSD employee. And each unit's engagement will be measured using student voice and results communicated.
As we transition to the next section, I was remiss in orienting you all to the way that we did our work as an advisory committee. So we sort of separated into two different groups where we focused on the educational component in the classroom, curriculum. So we separated into curriculum and then behavior management. So now we're going to segue into the behavior management recommendations.
All right. I'm not sure if Rachel read my mind or my notes. No, you're good. That's so funny. So that is exactly what I was going to say. We had two teams, our behavior. I led our behavior team, and our curriculum team was led by Dr. O'Neill. And the behavior team, so our group really utilized data-driven decision-making and determining best practice recommendations to address the inequity and behavior-based outcomes here at the Lansing School District. So just so that you have a little bit of context around how we came to some of our recommendations. So displayed here is the student suspension data disaggregated by student demographics. The 2022 Systematic Equity Review revealed that decisions about student discipline and intervention were not comparable across student groups. What the review told us was that Black students and students who identified as two or more races were at higher risk for suspension and referral than their peers. Here we have a pie graph that demonstrates current trends. This was data that was pulled this month, so very, very recent and current data that validates the finding in our equity review, and it reveals ongoing patterns of inequity in our schools regarding discipline and suspension. So our current trends really highlight the need for change by means of policy reform. The EAC committee is just strongly recommending revisions to the student handbook, and because the handbook largely guides the decision-making process regarding disciplinary action, guidelines, and intervention, this is where we focused our efforts over these last 8 months. So in practice, what does that really look like? The first thing would be eliminating ambiguity in language so that there can be a promotion of clarity, shared understanding of meaning, and ultimately resulting in a reduction of bias in determining disciplinary outcomes. The second thing this looks like in practice is modifying the types and amount of suspendable offenses while really strongly advocating for increased use of culturally responsive positive behavior interventions and other supports that we already have here embedded in our district. And then the last thing is just further transparency to our district community and beyond regarding the institutional journey regarding diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, social justice, just for those who are not familiar with the DEI-BSJ acronym there.
So as the committee worked on these recommendations that we'll be highlighting shortly, a few things that we focused on was making sure that we weren't just having conversations, but that we were focusing on action-oriented goals. We wanted to make sure that in looking at the systemic equity review, and also synergy data from our own district, that we were identifying language within the student code of conduct that was considered more subjective, which often alludes to those higher discipline rates, which disparately impact students of color. We also wanted to consider policy as well, and looking at how the policy impacts that discipline. So for instance, as Dr. O'Neill had indicated earlier, we have quite a few recommendations, but a few that are going to be highlighted tonight. When we looked at the student handbook, one of the things that was discussed was the dress code, in particularly the use of bonnets, do-rags, and headscarves. And we are looking at recommending to have those items be exempt as items that would result in the students receiving disciplinary outcomes. So as you can see here, it's highlighted in red. This is a touchy situation. Even our committee has not even come to a consensus on this recommendation. It is in the works, and we're continuing to discuss topics that are really difficult. We all have different opinions and perspectives, and also collecting voice and ideas from the school, from the district, from staff, from students. And so this is just an example of how tricky it gets when we're looking at code of conduct language, and even within our own group, not being able to necessarily come up with a consensus. So we will be bringing this topic back to our committee and discussing it further.
So one of the codes, synergy that we looked at was persistent misconduct. The current definition is frequently misconduct and or consistently breaking the same rule. In relation to ambiguity and subjectiveness, we're going to recommend that we remove the code from synergy. Another one was abusive language, which is verbal messages that use words in an inappropriate way and include but are not limited to name calling, profanity. The recommended revision will be targeted, as you see is highlighted, verbal messages intended to be harmful, which may include but are not limited to name calling, taunting, teasing, and profanity. So in other words, there's a big difference between a student saying this is some bleepity bleep and you are some bleepity bleep. You know, you don't want it targeted toward the instructor. And so additional considerations will also be to change this to a non-suspendable offense.
The next one The next one we're looking at is cheating plagiarism, so identified as falsely presenting work as your own original work or providing others with test responses or work to copy. The quality of work will not be a consideration. So we're recommending changing this to a non-suspendable offense as this does not pose a threat to the school or the community, and this should be resolved through other discipline measures.
Insubordination, the failure to obey, comply with, or carry out a reasonable directive from any school employee, including principal, teacher, secretary, custodian, cafeteria worker, secretary, staff, security staff, assistant, or bus driver. We are focusing on the word insubordination, which historically is a classist term, and we're wanting to change that to non-compliance, which is the failure to carry out a directive from any Lansing School District staff. We are also recommending that this is a non-suspendable offense.
Really looking at fighting and the definition of what that means, thinking about it in terms of contact with another person as opposed to blows being exchanged. So wanting to really think about that and really looking at what that is intended to do. Is it intended to cause harm as opposed to just arm swinging?
Thank you, and I'm going to bring us home for our last couple slides. And I also have to say, you know, this committee has worked tirelessly. Part of why I missed and stole some people's thunder is because I missed a couple meetings when we practiced this, because this team continues to work and gather and put the work in, even when I'm not able to be present. What we are proposing this evening, there's some things that are some low-hanging fruit, right? What we looked at and the reason why those changes to the student code of conduct are being recommended as a paramount area of focus is because we saw that those were the phrases or suspendable offenses that were used most disproportionately. They are also some of the most subjective language, right? So if someone's insubordinate or doing something inappropriate, they should also be doing something else that should be more subjective, right? Or should be more non-subjective. So did they harm someone? Did they fight? Did they destroy property? That's the suspendable offense or the issue that should be addressed, right? And so with that, we would like to see a commitment to restorative justice practices. Where are opportunities to place a better focus on that being the first area of action? Again, to Dr. Carlton's statement, and I'm channeling my inner Dr. Rodriguez, culture is more important. Culture will eat policy any day. Is that how it goes? All the time. Culture will eat policy all the time. So that is something I think that's just incredibly important to mention. So we have some other additional low-hanging fruit opportunities for the district would be to include a dedicated space for DEI on the district website, just like how we have our transparency report, uncovering the crumb trails that you have to follow on our district website to get to our report and our actions, maybe making that more front and center. As a district, we are continuing to have conversations about engaging and having a focus on multicultural education opportunities. So we as a district understand that educational equity is not all about race. All students should have an equal opportunity for academic success, borrowing this language again, by supporting equitable practices. So what we've done tonight is we have put a 29-slide presentation together, down from our 300-odd page original equity audit, right? Where we're saying, here are some real tangible takeaways and opportunities for the board to consider. There's nothing we are asking you to adopt tonight. This is a presentation and an opportunity for you to digest and receive what this equity committee has been doing over the last 8 months. We know that we need to make schooling more relevant for students, especially our Black, Indigenous, and students of color. And so this is about igniting that movement. To what Dr. Burrow said, this is a systemic change. We are charting the Titanic, and we know that it's going to take years for us to actually see. We didn't get here overnight. We're not going to change overnight. But what we are continuing to do is demonstrate that commitment to cultural change. So with that, that concludes our presentation, and I will open it to questions from my colleagues. Can I chair from the, I might be back. Ms. Williams.
Good evening. First, let me say great presentation. However, there's two different magnitudes of information that's here that needs to be separated and handled differently, because first and foremost, the DEI should be starting within the staff itself first. You cannot teach your child anything on DEI until your staff is cohesive and all on the same page and working together. So I had several questions with that component. First question is why, some of the teachers said they would only stay 2 years. Why would that be? Can you tell me that? Because if reading this and listening, if they've only stayed 2 years, I kind of feel like they felt excluded.
Excellent question. The survey itself didn't ask the why, but some of the reasons that teachers speak about is the certified versus non-certified. Some of our newer teachers are still deciding if they're going to continue with certification and become a certified teacher, and some are not. And that seemed to be the biggest factor.
Okay.
But we need to continue to ask and dive deeper to find out the reasoning.
Okay. So that is one of my questions on that aspect. Then I want to switch to the student component, because that really kind of resonated to me, because I am a parent here in the Lansing School District. We are training our students to become college prep, trade workers, whatever. So saying, okay, changing some of the language, yes, I agree with that, but we should also be gearing them in their appearances. So to say we're going to allow do-rags, I personally have a problem with that, because I'm not going into a job interview with a do-rag, scarf mask, or anything. And we shouldn't be, because the education place is the first place of business. You're coming to learn. You're coming to be in, we say college preparatory. In every aspect, it should be that, from the way we look, the way we speak, the way we talk. So I do strongly suggest that as a parent, coming to you, not as a board member, we look at that. No, I just disagree with that. That should not be allowed, because then we're accepting a culture that should not be. That should just, insubordination, I understand the wording for that. However, if you're on a job, you're going to get docked insubordination. So yes, I understand changing, but again, everything should be teaching a child to go into the real world. So we may not like the wording, we may have to pivot and shift just a little bit, but to say, okay, we're going to conform to them instead of preparing them to be as successful as we need them to be. Again, let's look at that a little bit more and how we can do that and shift that. I'm speaking as a parent first and foremost, and I really think these things we need to go back and look at. But overall, you guys did a wonderful job. But again, 2 parts. Start at the top with the teachers first, training them, equipping them. Everybody that will come in contact, even me as a board member, coming in contact with that child should be equipped and trained in DEI first and foremost. And then we look at the component of that child, because we can't do it together, because it creates a conflict in both the staff and the child.
Thank you.
Mr. Richardson?
You guys might tear me up here in a second. So I'm gonna, probably the better way to do this is I'll put a couple things out there. If somebody wants to respond to it, all good. If not, I'm gonna send in detail to President Willis, and hopefully that gets disseminated there. You gotta hear me though. Excellent job. You guys don't know me individually. I only know like 3 of you. We don't have to celebrate all the stuff you got right. I'm only going to talk about the stuff that I think there's opportunity for, but don't hear that as, oh, the guy missed the whole point, okay? And so the first thing is one of the things that I think I was shocked by, because there's so many people so close to this, to me it feels backwards to be moving towards intent. So to have 2 or 3 slides where we're talking about the intent of something is how we do the justification or the discipline. We are not sophisticated enough to deal with that. We're not sophisticated enough to train on that. So I'm shocked by that. And so I would love more clarity on that, Dr. O'Neill. Like when we say, I know what probably is going on in that we don't want jovial terms that are like culturally appropriate to be the reason somebody gets suspended, but that is the slipperiest slope I've heard about in education, to move back towards intent when we're talking about racial slurs, when we're talking about swinging our arms or anything like that. We don't have 6,000 kids leaving this district that should be coming here every day, waking up and going to a different school because of intent. Like, you know, we've got to have policy for what really happens, and you've got to have a standard line. CJ, on your slide, one of the things that said breaking the same rule is unclear or ambiguous. I'd love to hear back on that. This probably isn't the forum for that, but breaking the same rule repeatedly seems clear to me, but I'm sure there's more thought that went into, I'm extending thoughtfulness to the group. So, but the biggest one that the real two big takeaways is, it might have been accidental, I kept hearing we want, and I'm just wondering, like, is that you all, or are people telling you this is what we want? I wonder who the we is. I think 4 of the presenters said we want. And so is that teachers wanting that? Is that students saying, hey, I'm part of this 6,000 kids not coming here because I want this? Who is the we? And then I just hope this was brought in. There's 4 or 5 doctors on here. There was a really big study done by Stephen Drake and Josh Cohen from Michigan State a couple years ago about the black flight of teachers in Michigan. It's dropped by 50% in the last 10 years. And inside of that study, there was a very interesting nugget, in my opinion, which is that most of the black teachers in black districts are considering leaving because of the weight of having to carry out DEI efforts. So when I saw cultural taxation, when I saw the slide that says we want them to create the content and participate in it, I don't think that's, pardon?
Yeah. Oh, please finish.
If that was what was on there, is that content created by BIPOC people, I don't think that is going to be helpful for the already impossible teacher shortage situation that we're facing daily.
Mr. Richardson, are you done with your comments before I jump in?
That's it.
Okay. 2 things. Really, I appreciate your comments. When we say we mean this advisory committee, which is a representative sample.
Okay.
So that's what we mean. It's the recommendations that was collectively proposed. When the curriculum recommendation is for any individual that has the culturally responsive curriculum that they would propose. So what we're saying is we would like to go in-house with anyone who's proposed that has curriculum before we
Gotcha.
go out of house. That's what that meant. Not that we're going to say, okay, 5 black people get in a room and come up with the multicultural curriculum, and then Native Americans, we're going to do the same thing. No, that was more our intention, that we would say we'd go in-house first.
Gotcha. And I did miss my whole question, again, not to be answered here, and it's not contentious. Who is the North Star district that's done this, like in a district like ours? Like, I work with a couple of the people down in Atlanta. I work with the people in Miami. I'm wondering, they are, I would say we're ahead of some of those bigger districts. So I'm interested to figure out what data we have on, like, who is the model that we should be chasing at?
That's a really good question, and I wonder if our friends at West Ed know where they've done some of that other work, and where they've done, because part of our package with them was that follow-up and that support. So I could definitely see what, this is tailored specifically for what we need, right? So what may have been implemented in another district may not be
100%
what works, right? But there's still some takeaways that we could certainly
In
take.
our situation, though, we said we can't be what we can't see. So I think that applies to us, too.
Absolutely, that's a good point.
Nobody has solved it.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Burrows.
No, I was going to say there are districts that are further along. There's a lot more that are way behind where we are, but nobody has figured out magic solutions to address these problems. It's something that every urban district and a lot of urban districts are struggling with.
Sure, but to your point, like the people that you would classify as further along, I would not want that to be like a gut feeling. I would want to see like, hey, here's 4 districts, 3 districts, 1 district, or there's none, and we'll be the first. All acceptable, but I think we have to contextualize that as well, because we also can't be.
Ms. Lilji.
Data early in the year, and we know that for places about our size, with about our population demographics, there are people outpacing us in student achievement. And it's not a far correlation to know that if their student achievement is rising, it's because they are included, relevant, their voice is heard, and so on. So I think we probably could find some within the data you gave us in the fall, the names of those places. So they're findable.
Can I? So, I mean, absolutely. I just want to make sure, and certainly I'll do whatever anybody asks me to do to show the information. I think the real question is, what's the definition of along? in the sense of, are we talking about student achievement? If it's student achievement, then absolutely. There are definitely districts out there that have same, let's say, poverty levels or racial demographics that have much more success. But I think the broader question is, of course, are there districts that are doing really substantial equity work that's focused? That's a little bit different. But one could argue that if a graduation rate is 99%, then everybody's graduating, then you're hitting your goals. But I mean, I'm happy to provide that, but I also defer to the team and to the board.
Ms. Lilji?
Just to echo the gratitude, and I'm so overwhelmed by all the work that it's clear that you have been doing, and you've been steadfast and actionable and organized and measured, and that's just so beautiful, because, you know, somebody mentioned it, we've all been on committees where we just talk about stuff, and then you write something and it goes in a file, and so thank you for the work that you've done. I wonder if you could talk to us a little more about restorative justice, and specifically if we're going to consider changing things to non-suspendable, what is the alternative action to suspension?
Coming from a restorative practices background, first understanding that restorative practice is a lot more than just the responsive restorative justice that you hear about. So after a harm occurs is when you would do something that's restorative, or restorative circle, a restorative justice conference that's more formal. But first, creating classroom and school environments that include restorative practices. So how are we creating environments where we have these high expectations for our students, but also have the support to get them there? How are we providing all of the things that students need to succeed in class, and also listening to them, and not just having these very strict rules that that we feel like they need to follow to succeed when they're not even in a headspace to listen or to learn. So going through these trainings that one that allow staff to understand what all of that is, all of the proactive work that restorative practices happens, but then also having the structures and the systems to have responsive discipline, so that we're more focused on the students are taking their own responsibility for what happened, but also how that they can repair harm for the people that they harmed, rather than we suspend them and they go home and then they come back, and the conflict is still there, right? So that has to be a culture thing that is trained with staff and discussed with staff on a constant basis. That cannot just be a one-off training. But it also has to, before we say, oh, we're going to remove all of these discipline things that we feel help or that give relief to staff, those systems and processes need to be in place so that students can actually go through that process, understand what that is, but also have all the proactive work ahead of time so that they know how to express their feelings. They know how to say what they need from people. They know how to take responsibility for their actions, and also see and have empathy for the harm that they've imposed on other people.
I'd like to add something. I've been trained as a scientist, and what I've learned is that you try something, and if it's working, you do more of it. If it's not working, then you drop it. What we're doing now is not working. Restorative justice might not work, but let's try it. And look at the data. Is it reducing the suspension rates? Okay, then let's do more of it. If restorative justice is not working, let's look at something else, because what we're currently doing is not working.
Madam President, if I may, I won't say it's restorative justice. I think it's called caring and being empathetic. And again, as a parent, my son goes to Eastern, and we have had a lot of problems. This year, we went into the room with Principal Marcellus, Assistant Principal Bates, his teacher, the social worker, myself, him, and his outside therapist, and we sat in the room. And the simple question was, how can we help you? So listening to this child in a matter of 35 minutes to an hour. He went from being a 1.0, being suspended, to now if he is sick, I get a phone call. Where's my baby? There is something about just realizing that sometimes pulling all the rules out and becoming parents, becoming caring citizens, becoming that village that makes it easier. Yes, it may consider restorative justice, but sometimes just sitting and saying, how can I help you? Because we're so data driven that we forget they have emotions, that they have feelings, that they have all these other battles, peer pressure. Sometimes even me coming into this room, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm not good at this. But I have people that are my counterparts to say, what can I do to help you? It's not, here's a book, here's this. Listening. A simple question, you want to talk about it right now, or write me how you feel. Some type of simple measure. We're going so outside the box that the simple things that can work, we're throwing out the way and we're missing the mark. We need to go back to that. I mean, ask any child, what do you need? Just that they're thinking, I matter. And that's the key point in all of this. People need to feel like they matter, be it the teacher, be it the child, the janitor. If we don't make them matter, we won't get to where you want to be. I'm sorry, but I appreciate the work, but I never saw respect. I never saw integrity. I never saw feelings, nothing about the core person in any of this, and that's the key to it all.
So let me start by saying this. This recommendations are specifically a response to actions to the equity audit. The recommendations are opportunities for us to take what exists and change them. Restorative justice is a model that actually starts with the proactive actions that you just mentioned. So everything that you said is actually part of the restorative justice model. So that is what we're asking to have happen, is that focus be on the person-centered approach and including that person. That's what multicultural curriculum is. That is what the restorative model is. And so those are both key things that we did mention today. And so that is exactly what we're trying to do, is to take the interpersonal, maybe I just don't like this person, maybe they're just difficult. The subjectivity of the interaction being difficult is a lot different than there actually being a problem, right? And so that's why we're looking at these specific offenses and saying, how do we take this down? How do we adjust the subjectivity of it? Because when there's issues that need to be addressed and there's a risk of safety, those need to be addressed. Everything doesn't need to be addressed by removing a child from the building. We can't suspend kids for everything, right? So that what you're saying is exactly what we're recommending. So one of the things that we're able to do as a board after this presentation is to sit down and say, now what's the next thing we need to direct the superintendent to do, right? So everything that you just said can be part of something that we as a board ask the superintendent to bring back to us, or ask this committee to bring back to us. Okay. Mr. Lopez?
I think she was...
That's why I wanted to get back.
There was a comment.
And I mean this respectively. I did not hear an answer yet to Ms. Lilligee's question. I love the context you provided that, hey, we're trying to get in front of all this. But I'm just curious, as an uneducated person on this flat out, what is the alternative when that doesn't work? Like what? And we may not get all of it. Again, I'm assuming positive intent. You're on this because you're experts in it, and we may not get all you in a room again. So I don't know if that's what you're going to add on to, but.
Oh, you will.
I like that.
So first things first, restorative practices is not just that and nothing else. There's space for the use of that as a proactive piece and a reactive piece, as Kendall had mentioned, but also too looking at, it's not replacing discipline, it's just saying, instead of always suspending, what else can be done? And so while this is a recommendation and it's a successful practice, that would be the responsibility as a district in looking at what else can we do? What else can we bring in addition to restorative practices? So we're not recommending that it's just restorative and discipline as the alternative. There's many, many other opportunities in there to replace discipline.
So I think, to answer the question, restorative practices and responsive circles and responsive restorative justice conferences those would be voluntary processes for someone to go through as an alternative to the normal discipline practices. So we're not saying eliminate all of the discipline structures that a student would have, but if they can come to an agreement with the person they harmed, with a plan for how they're going to repair that harm, and the person that caused harm and the person that was harmed can come to an agreement and follow through on that, then that would be a replacement to something like a suspension. But it not completely replacing it if they don't go through that.
Do we feel that puts burden on the victim? Did you guys discuss that?
So it does have to, they have to be willing to participate in that. But oftentimes, when you talk about restorative justice, a lot of times victims don't have any say in a discipline process, right? So this gives voice to the victim and also gives them a chance to feel repaired for harm, but also have say in what that consequence should be to repair that harm.
It seems to me also that restorative justice gets to the root of the problem. Often, something happens and a child is suspended, and they may say they were fighting or they were upset. And if you ask, well, what were they fighting about? I've heard people say, we don't know. People in authority, we don't know, we suspended them. Well, then you didn't solve the problem. And to give a personal example, some years ago, a young man jumped into my back window of my house, okay? He was being chased by, I think he was 18, 19, whatever. He's being chased by some other people. And when he, came in my house bleeding and whatever, and he said, they're after me. And I said, who's after you? And then I said, well, go in the bathroom and lock the door, And so, but when the police came and we talked, they had known of this situation. And I said, well, why didn't you all get these young men together and solve the problem? Because they weren't hoodlums. They kids who gotten out of control. So, and I kept saying, we need something that addresses the root, of the problem. And so restorative justice, to me, is getting at that root, solving the problem so that, okay, you suspended them, so next time they're going to see each other and fight, solve the problem. That's how I see restorative justice.
Are you going to say more?
Yeah. It's going to go Mr. Lopez, Dr. Body, then Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. I just was thinking of the report that West staff provided for us. It had many of the same recommendations here. I think you've synthesized them, from the first recommendations they gave us. So one question is, how do your recommendations here line up with the 20 or so recommendations that we got from West staff and the committee that worked on that for months? Is it much different, or is it you just putting it in a more of a form, as to form?
We SMART goaled them.
I'm sorry?
We SMART goaled them, so we added some specificity to them, right? So the West Ed recommendations were like, this needs to change. Okay, but what does that mean? So we took a look at, so you have disproportionate suspension data.
Yeah.
What do we do about that, right? So that's what this committee took those recommendations apart. And this is only a piece, right? So this is our first go. This committee's not disbanding, right? This is not the end. To your point, Mr. Richardson, this was just the importance was this marks a year from the West Ed presentation, and we felt that it was important that there was some product to provide for this board for additional consideration. That's really what this is right now.
Okay. Yeah, and it seems that we still need to do more clarification on some of the terminology, but that's okay. The second thing I wanted to say was that restorative justice is not new to the district, okay? We've had it for years. I know Eastern was one that practiced it, I believe, more than maybe other schools. I may be wrong. But that particular program has been available to Lansing schools for a long time. I don't know how it is right now, right? Still is. So I think that we need to make sure that we use what's available and let other folks know that it's available. And sometimes he would make it a requirement if needed, that it's available and should be used before, let's say, suspension or expulsion or anything of that nature. So restorative justice as a process is not new to the Lansing School District, and I wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Quickly, I want to underscore like the deep sense of gratitude for all the time you all have invested in this, much more time than I could have. So I'm glad that there's people out there that are doing the work and that have the time to invest in it. And then to piggyback off of Kurt, I share the concern about, like, it was nails on a chalkboard when I read on the slide the wording about intent to harm. That was like, whoa. Because you can cause a lot of harm to another person and not have the intent. Or how do you grade the intent? Like if you've got a 6'4", 300-pound trying to intimidate, I didn't turn 100 pounds until freshman year of high school. So you didn't have to physically harm me to cause me harm. So I think that slide in particular left a lot to be desired, where students can cause a lot of harm to other students vis-a-vis intimidation, even if it's not actual physical violence. That has no business being in the school or in the classroom or anything of that nature. So I think there's opportunity for growth on that particular item.
And I want to note too for colleagues, we're also not recommending we get rid of everything else, right? So all the other stuff is still there. So bullying is still there, threatening is still there. Like we didn't want to get rid of everything, but I definitely appreciate the feedback about opportunities for what we have drafted so far. Were there other comments from members of the committee? I know, sorry. I got to look further down the table.
As young as I am, I did forget, but I'm sure it will come back.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you very much for all the work. We are using a lot of time in suspensions. The suspensions are consequences of something wrong in the building. I prefer to spend more time in how we do professional development and how we do cultural awareness and cultural in the schools. Suspension are consequences when we don't have identity, when you don't study the curriculum with everybody, when the students are not happy going to the school, and where they have conflicts. Yes, suspension should be eliminated, but not because emphasizing this world, emphasizing the school culture. And that is what this committee is all about. My question is, are you willing also to receive suggestions, ideas, proposals for other groups?
Absolutely.
Thank you. But back to, we can put a lot of bandage to the suspensions, but if we don't change the school first, the suspension will continue. Then I said that when we study that, we should have meetings like this in every board meeting. But thank you for coming, and we're waiting for you to come back. But you opened the door today.
Yeah.
That is all you did. The work is to come. And the work is going to be all. And the message that you are sending to the community today is we had to change. That thank you very much. I support you. And I think the future is going to be brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues. I'm going to rejoin you at the Horseshoe.
I got one last, if we can,
Okay.
So, and this, don't read anything into this. This is strictly for context. Two things. One, and one of them may not have been appropriate. We have like one of the world's foremost people in restorative justice here. I'm wondering, has Dr. Kavanaugh been a part of this? And then also a person dealing with a lot of this, has Cordelia and her team, were they involved in this? One head shake, some no?
We had a representative from public safety on the. is a member of the committee.
Okay.
He just wasn't able to join us tonight. Specifically about involving Dr. Kavanaugh, I would align that to some of the recommendations and professional opinion that we took for Dr. Body during the COVID crisis.
Sure, 100%.
That once we get ready to start having specific conversations about what restorative justice would look like, then we would bring in Dr. Kavanaugh. This was like let's go down this path, right? And if the board supports that, then we would stand up something more specific.
And then the question I'm scared to ask, don't read into this. How many of you all are in-class teachers right now?
Oh, okay.
I knew you.
And we're missing, we have a principal.
At high school level, I know.
And then we have a principal on the committee.
No, I just wonder about in-class, and again, don't read in this. Idealism sometimes requires distance and proximity from the implementation. So I'm just wondering on the perspective, I knew you were a teacher, I know you're in the classes sometimes, or no? No? Okay. All right. So I just need to know that. Not good or bad, just curious.
One final thing I just wanted to address about the comment that you made earlier about the last slide that I think I've heard in a lot of the commentary and questions. One of the last slides said that you cannot achieve what you cannot define. And so what we're doing here is really trying to get on the same page with, can everyone in our schools define what culturally responsive teaching and learning is? Can everyone define what care is? Do we have the same standard for excellence, for student success? And so I think I just really wanted to kind of hit home with the work that we're doing, the questions that you're asking, the data that we're seeing. Are we all defining it the same? Because our definitions really drive how we're going to implement. And so if we start with getting on the same page, that will help all of us move forward in this work. And so that was one thing that you mentioned that I really just wanted to drive home kind of as a conclusory statement. Okay. Okay.
Okay, remind me never to sign up to do a presentation in front of the board again. Thank you. That was wonderful. That was great, great. All right. All right. That brings us on in our agenda. It's a bit of marathon, guys. I appreciate you hanging in there with us. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
I motion that the board approve the consent agenda as presented for the meeting from 5/4/23 regular meeting and 5/11/23 for our informational session, as well as the treasurer's report.
It's been moved by Ms. Williams, supported by, I was actually going to give this one a body. He can get it first. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 9-0. Next, Board of Education colleagues, it is that time of year where we need to provide an election of members to the ISD board. So there are 2 members of the board who are up for re-election. There's Lori Zajac from Holt and John Wolenberg from East Lansing. Their resumes are in the agenda, and they are both incumbents. In order for that to happen, we need to do 2 things. We need to designate our designee to cast our vote, and then we also need to designate an alternate, and then we need to confirm if we're willing to support these 2 candidates for the election. The meeting is scheduled for June 5th at 6 p.m., so whomever we designate as our designee needs to be available June 6th at 6 p.m., and that person is not me. June 5 at 6. Sorry. Got that? So it's open for us to designate identify our designee and alternate. May I have a motion, or else I'm going to nominate Dr. Rodriguez. It cannot be Dr. Rodriguez?
Did you say that?
No, I said it will be Dr. Rodriguez if I don't get a motion. Okay, so it's been moved by Mr. Lopez that we designate Trustee Williams as our representative and Trustee Rodriguez as our alternate representative for the Lansing School District Board of Education to vote at the ISD Board of Education election. Is there a support for that? That was Lopez. Who made the initial? Okay, Lopez, and then supported by Ms. Logie. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the recommended motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 9-0. The next motion is for the board to designate the following candidates that represent, that our representatives will vote for. And those candidates are Lori Zajac and John Wollenberg. May I have a motion? Dr. Rodriguez?
I move that this board support these two re-elected candidates for the Ingham County Board.
It's been moved by Dr. Rodriguez, supported by Mr. Richardson. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Great, motion passes 9-0. Next is discussion for the board this evening is consideration for social media litigation. I'm going to turn that over to our superintendent.
Sure. Well, hello, everybody. There was a presentation that was made by our council to the board officers about a possible litigation where school districts are joining to basically be part of litigation against social media. The idea being that, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc., causes quite a lot of harm to children. One of the really interesting things is that they're finding evidence that it's very clear that social media is using it to addict children, and that they are showing, huge costs to the district, everything from TikTok challenges to destroy bathrooms to bullying and fighting, etc. We were approached by our council to be part of this larger litigation, and the board officers got a presentation. They seemed interested, and in order for us to move forward, we of course want to and have to take action about that. I'm happy to go in depth, although I think there's some detail here, and certainly I would defer to any of the board officers who also got the briefing. But in some respects, school districts had suffered greatly because of social media. One of the big things, of course, that we have to deal with is you can hide behind a lot of this, and so a lot of bullying, a lot of anger, frustration, just antagonism, and trying to get social media companies to take things down is circuitous at best. And so certainly there's a lot of school districts over the next couple of months that are going to be part of it. I think the deadline is in a couple of months from now, but I think that our council asked if we would be interested in it, that we would bring it to the fore. So I don't know, President Willis, if there's anything more you want me to say. Certainly I defer to you as well.
So something for our colleagues to note, there is not a there's not a fee for this. This is one of those, only a fee is taken if there's recovery on behalf of the district if we're awarded damages. There's two opportunities there. Essentially what this is it's a public nuisance case, right? So having social media platforms that exist without, there being guardrails and better oversight leads to public nuisance that creates disturbances in schools. And so there can either be a monetary or non-monetary gain or outcome of this. One of the things that specifically would be one of the non-monetary potential outcomes would be injunctive relief that would at least require some specific guardrails around parental controls. And when I heard that, even if that's all we get out of this, it's better oversight and parental controls for permission for use, I think we're winning. And so that was that was the turning point for me in wanting to bring this to the board for consideration. There is I asked, I was like, are we gonna have to like literally itemize every door that got broken and every window got broken? If we are one of the districts that if we agree to opt in and we're one of the districts that may end up being selected, there may be some additional evidence that we may have to present as part of the dossier that they'll present in federal court. We don't necessarily know we'd be one of those districts. I did have opportunity to speak with the superintendent. If we were selected as one of those districts, it would not be burdensome task on our staff that's more than what the outcome we would potentially recoup would equate to, right? So it would be okay. It would be okay if we end up having to produce more information. Right now, the only thing we have to do is let our attorneys know if we say yes, that we are in, and so that they can add our name to the list of districts that want to be part of this public nuisance case. Dr. Badi.
Thank you. It's not just physical harm to buildings, but there's like a straight line correlation these days between like the self-esteem of young girls and social media, and like the detrimental effects it has on their mental health, which then we doctors have to deal with literally daily. But that would be a lot harder to tangibly prove, but it's there. The second thing is, it was just today, I think, if I'm up to date on my Twitter feed, that the Supreme Court declined to hold Twitter accountable for incendiary stuff that landed on Twitter. They said that the social media companies are not responsible for the content that appears on them. So while I support this in principle, I'm a little bit skeptical that we'll get anything out of it. But that doesn't mean that I won't vote to support it. I just think that it's a tall mountain to climb.
I agree, and that's why it was key in me saying it's not going to cost us anything, because I can only imagine the brain trust of folks that are going to have to sit in a room to mount this case to try it. So, Ms. Williams and then Ms. Logie.
President Willis, I've been following this because we had a lot of this last year by way of schools. The schools had social media pages where you saw fighting going on. We'd, you reach out to the superintendent, we have to shut it down. It costs, I mean, as parents, I think a lot of the parents would be saying, yes, district, we need this in place, because, I mean, we've had kids commit suicide, have tried to harm themselves. So even though it's not a monetary thing, I think we need to look at it as a safeguard mechanism, not only for us, because it could potentially, if it's brought to us and we don't do anything about it, could lead to lawsuits and other things. So if nothing else, it's covering the assets that the district already has, because this is going on within our district, and it's, we can't control the social platforms and everything. We can only bring it to the people powers that be in our area, and they can deal with it the best that we can. So I think we should really look at this, to protect everybody involved.
Absolutely. Ms. Logie?
One of the things that the counselors were telling us is that there is a whistleblower who's produced internal documents that show that these corporations understood that they were addicting children and causing harm, and that they chose to chase the profits instead of putting algorithms in place to reduce the harm. So I think that strengthens the case a little bit too. It's not, the burden of proof is going to be supported a lot by those internal voices.
Mr. Richardson?
I wish I would have said my thing 90 seconds ago. I'll be abstaining from it. I don't oppose it, but I have a consultative and financial relationship with Meta Platforms, so.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yes, because that is one of the Meta, Snapchat, YouTube, which is owned by Google, and TikTok are the main platforms they're going after. Dr. Kavanaugh.
So I was glad to hear you say that there would not be a cost for us. Are there any other potential risks or ways that the district could be harmed that aren't financial by participating?
That's a really good question. There weren't any additional risks that were raised by our council, but I wonder if that's something we can follow up on.
Yeah, certainly we appreciate that Troon has always given us pretty good counsel over the years. I think the risk would be only in the sense of it would be public that we're part of this lawsuit, and if there's any issue. But, to our point, I think there's, as President Willis said, there's two pieces. One is kind of signing on, and then the second is if we're going to be one of the highlighted districts. For one of the highlighted districts, there's going to be kind of work on the district side, but there'll be remuneration for that if there's a good verdict. But we would choose that. So I think right now the question is the board willing to let us go down the road, not about being chosen as one of the highlighted, just are we willing to kind of put our name down as this like larger group of school districts who's willing to do this?
It sucks that I just said I abstained, but just and you're a smart guy, you've thought of it. There is the potential for them to deplatform people that identify as a Lansing school district, and that would affect enrollment. So just something to be conscious of.
That's just so interesting. Well, yeah.
As parents, we should let our kids tag all these affiliations.
Right.
They deplatform somebody.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, we'll build another website. That's why we're adopting policies today about students being able to build STEM scores. So we'll build our own platform. So with that all being said, are there any other questions or comments? Mr. Lopez?
I want to make a motion.
Oh, thank you.
I move that the Board of Education accept the attached resolution and agree to join the lawsuit under the terms specified in the attached contract.
It's been moved by Mr. Lopez, supported by Ms. Williams. Any additional questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Abstain? Aye. Motion passes 8-0-1. That brings us on to item C, which is the second reading and adoption of policies that are enclosed in our packet. Before we, oh no, technically I need a motion. May I have a motion?
I move that we adopt the second reading of the changes.
We have a recommendation that we accept the enclosed policies for second reading and adoption. It's been supported by Ms. Williams. It's been moved by Ms. Williams, supported by Dr. Rodriguez. I'm asking my question first because we may need to amend the motion. I have a question about policy 7540. I don't have a question, I have a recommendation. Policy 7540 names Jeff Vanderlaan as our technology director, and I recommend we just say Director of Technology, so we don't have to update the policy okay? Yeah. So with that being said, the motion would be, to adopt the policies as amended, and I would need Ms. Williams and Dr. Rodriguez to accept that friendly amendment.
I move that we accept the reading and the adoption of the amendment.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so now the motion's still on the floor to adopt the policies as amended.
Question.
We're good. We're good. Now the question's on the floor. Now we can keep up with questions. Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the Policy Committee and the administration for helping on all these many policies. Very interesting. Then some of them require administrative work. One of them is to have a safety plan for the schools. I also learned 1,000 feet from the school it's prohibited to have any gun. Then there are a few things in the policy, and these policies takes a lot of time to read and understand, but very interesting that we have here a way how the district move. Then I appreciate that we are passing that today, and what the superintendent said really, the Neola don't tell us what to do. We are the in charge of the district, and we approve the policies, no Neola. And I appreciate that.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. And I do have one question about policy 8390, which is the animals on district policy. I just want to make sure that I'm reading this correctly, because there's a section about non-service animals in schools and elsewhere in district policy where it has lines through it. In another area of the policy where it repeats, but we left it in. I just want to clarify that it's the recommendation that we leave this in because that covers like classroom pets and things like that. So I wanted to make sure that the recommendation that it's in. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify. Gotta have the gerbil and the iguana's gotta stay at Cumberland. All right, goldfish. Just wanted to make sure. All right. Feed the fish. I got to take the gerbils home on spring break, and it was the best spring break. No. Then I took them home over the summer, then they died, so come on. Are there any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I will ask for a roll call vote.
Dr. Body?
Yes.
Dr. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Ms. Lilji?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Dr. Rodriguez? Ms. Williams? Ms. Willis?
Yes. All right. That brings us to, we have 2 voluntary retirement agreements and releases for the board to consider this evening. We are able to adopt those as one motion if someone would like to make that motion. Dr. Body. It's been moved by Dr. Body, supported by Ms. Williams, that the Board of Education accept the voluntary retirement and release as presented for both individuals included in the attachment. Are there any questions or comments? Oh, and I want to note for our colleagues, the hard copy you may have may be unsigned by one of the individuals, but I just want you to rest assured that we do have the signed copy retained. Any questions, comments? All right, seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Dr. Body?
Yes.
Dr. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Ms. Lilji?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez? Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Williams? Ms. Willis?
Yes. Motion passes 9-0. We did it, you guys. We got to the end of business. That takes us to report. It's only been almost 5 hours since we first convened. That brings us to our report from Secretary and Announcements. Dr. Rodriguez.
Madam President, thank you very much. Okay, where I have it? No, not there, right here. Number 1, Kavanaugh Steam Family Carnival, Friday, tomorrow, 5/19/23, 5:30 to 7:30, everybody to Kavanaugh. Big Man graduation celebration tomorrow, 12:30. Pattingill end of the year celebration, May 25th, from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Monday, May 29th, no school, Memorial Day. Monday, June 1st, last day for preschool. Next board meetings. Regular board meeting and the administration will be June 1st, will start at 4 o'clock. Then be sure we put that in the announcement to the public. We had to change from 6 to 4. June 8th, ISS board meeting, location to be determined. June 15th, a special board meeting at the administration budget presentation. It has to be at 5:30, then the public can, that is for the public to come and present their objections or whatever they want to the budget. It's at 5:30 also, we had to announce different time. And June 15, regular board meeting in the administration building at 6:30. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. That brings us to public comment on non-agenda items. We do have a couple public comments this evening. Okay. I will first, I will first invite Elizabeth Creel to the podium. We have 3 minutes to address the board, and the board does not typically respond to public comment. I'm sorry, please join us at the podium.
Okay, hi. My name is Elizabeth. I am a long-term substitute teacher at Dwight Rich School of the Arts. Recently, myself, along with a significant number of other Lansing educators, basically would like to request your support in our efforts to remedy the consequences of a misguided and frankly unethical decision made by the Lansing School District Human Resources Department. On May 2nd, a large number of substitute staff members, including myself, were informed that the pay for our positions would be decreasing by 50% effective May 3rd, the next day. We were given less than 24 hours notice. Most of us were in long-term positions that we had committed ourselves to for the remainder of the school year. But because of this decision, we have been forced to leave those positions because of the quick and harsh reduction in our pay. The now vacancy of these positions has unquestionably and immorally caused direct harm to Lansing students. Specifically, it has harmed the physically and cognitively disabled students of Lansing School District. These students deserve better than what we are currently able to provide to them under this decision that has been made. By every definition, especially in the discussions tonight in the DEI presentation, the situations that these students are now being subjected to due to this decision is not only inequitable, but the situation is now to the point of being unethical. So far, no individual efforts on behalf of our students have made any progress. Personally, I have been trying to make contact with Mr. Mark Manley, the head of Lansing HR, for over 2 weeks now, and he has yet to return my calls. I'm convinced he's ducking me at this point. We need you, we need the school board and our community to stand behind us and to stand behind our children in order to protect the most vulnerable of our students from the damage that the district is actively inflicting on them. Thank you.
Thank you. I now invite Christine Hall to the podium for public comment.
My name is Christine Hall, product of the Lansing School District, Otto Junior in Eastern High School. I have been working for the Lansing School District now through EduStaff and the staff before them for about 30 years. I have 2 master's degrees. Okemos wants me. Grand Ledge wants me. Waverly wants me. I do not like the fact I'm here because I think this is a calling from higher up, because I wanted to make more money. I have a master's in HR, labor relations and HR. I have a master's in urban studies. I think when we talk about integrity, last Tuesday we were told, read this, down a piece of paper. You will not be given the teacher's rate of pay starting tomorrow. I have a bachelor's degree in secondary education. I had just sent for my transcripts from California, straight 4-point in all my classes for certification, and for my certificate, because I decided that I do it every single day. I might as well do my certification. I wanted to make more money, but I'm committed. My mentor was David Hollister and Debbie Stavnoff. They were my mentors. Give back to the community. I've been on youth development boards. Some of you I know. I've sit with you. okay? Next month, I will be 74 years old. When we talk about integrity, to be told the way we were told makes me feel insignificant. That the sacrifices that I have made for the Lansing School District. I don't think there's a school that I haven't worked for. I think I come with high ratings with Mr. Pena, LaDonna. When you talked about restorative justice, I have a graduate class that I took in restorative justices, okay? Her school practices it during morning circles and evening when they do the circles. So it is not anything new. But I'm just saying, when you talk about hurt feelings and the sacrifices that I have made to get that type of, read the piece of paper, oh, the district has decided. Have any of you ever worked at Beekman? We wipe people's butts. We show them how to brush their teeth. We work with children who are autistic. We have to do a lot. I have surgery here for rotary tear. I have a rotary tear here. I didn't get surgery done. And to be told, now this has happened in different positions with me, okay? But to be told that is, to me, not showing value to the people that work for you. And my feelings are hurt, and I did not sleep well.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. I would now like to invite up Aaron Tucker.
I'd like to address the school board on a few concerns I have as a Sexton alum, Sexton parent, and a Lansing resident. And no, it's not about the logo. First and foremost, I'm concerned about the new Lansing Technical High School, as I firmly believe this could be a good option for students in the district and to assist the skilled trade efforts. However, why are we opening up another high school when we cannot fill current vacancies in the district? My son currently has 3 long-term subs at Sexton. I don't know his grade. Subs don't go to conferences because they're not paid to go to conferences. The subs can't tell my son his grade. So again, why open up another school if we cannot fill the vacancies we currently have? I don't know if my son's prepared to go on to 9th grade if we were to switch districts. Would he be successful based on all the, I'm a little passionate about this and angry, to be honest, with all the busy work he's been given. How can we stay up to grades? Or on grades, again, if they don't know. So what's going on? Not to mention, it's difficult to talk to substitutes. I already talked about that. It's my understanding that Eastern and Everett have their own dilemma with filling vacancies. And I just found out about the substitute situation tonight, so it's even more concerning. In addition, it's my understanding that the new tech school is going to be co-opted with Everett for sports. So now Sexton and Eastern are losing student athletes, amazing students, to Everett via the new co-op. How is that equitable? In sum, Sexton is losing students to the new tech high school, can't fill current vacancies, and losing student athletes to play for the highest enrolled, in my knowledge, the highest enrolled school in Lansing. Equitable, no. However, very questionable. Speaking of fairness, I really appreciate the student development program at Eastern for training, strength, conditioning, tutoring, and much more. I think it's a great program for our students. But let me repeat that, our students. Lansing School District students, especially if busing is offered, because right now it only benefits the East Side students and those students who can get to Eastern right after school. Also, it has come to my attention that non-Lansing School District students are benefiting from this program. How is that equitable? If I decide to school of choice my children like the 6,000 other children in our district, will my children be able to still utilize that program? If I move out of district, will my children be able to utilize that program? Probably not. So, I'm not the only parent with these concerns, just the one speaking here tonight. I have a lot more, but I'll rest.
Thank you. For those who raise concerns with the, at the public comment this evening, we usually ask that our staff members connect with you if you don't mind sticking around at the end of our meeting. That brings us to comments from the board. Dr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam President. I want to inform the community that yesterday attending the graduation of the Borrowonian Light.
Oh, cool.
First step, and 4 of the 11 graduates are from Lansing School District. And they were present, and they were very happy, and the families too. There's a big celebration, and hope the next year we continue with the program. It's a partnership with the Lansing School District. And today, we have Dwight Ridge, a beautiful ceremony of with the Lansing Promise.
Oh, yeah.
We have, they gave 77 diplomas of the new Promise scholars that they graduate from Lansing School District in 2029. That is the class of 2029. I hope to get the diplomas too. And all together, during all these days, they distributed, Lansing Promise distributed 726 sixth graders that will graduate in 2029 with free tuition, free pay, and many other things. The Lansing School District is the only one having connections with University of Michigan State, Olivet College, Davenport University, and Lansing Community College. And the amount of money is growing and is going to the students of the Lansing School District. They welcome, and was a great celebration. But at the beginning of the meeting, they introduced a student. There is now in Michigan State University and James Madison College. And she is graduated from Everett 2 years ago, and now is going to be working with Lansing Promise, but she also has meetings of all the students from Lansing School District. They go to Michigan State, and they are in the Promise, and they have meetings to support each other. Also, she is going to be working in another company, and she is going to be in political science. And I was very much surprised because I didn't recognize her. But Mr. Lopez will recognize her. When I went over there, I told her, write your name here. And her name was Connor Olguin. Then here we had the great results, all the work together that we have at Lansing School District. It is time for celebration this month and next month. Then encourage all our students to work together and be connected to Lansing School District. That finished my comments today. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Any other comments from board members? Mr. Lopez?
Thank you. I have two things. The first one is a sad thing. The Latino community, Hispanic community, lost one of its members this week, Mr. Hector Arroyo. He and his wife have lived here in Lansing for a long time, 40, 50 years. Anyway, all his kids went through Eastern High School. And you know Hector? Yeah. Javi, Jesus, and yeah. So it's a loss to the community, obviously, and I just want to send our condolences, if I may, to the family. And well, it's a loss, and I just want to let you know that it's one of our families that very supportive of the district, and all their kids have done very well. They're in college, some have already graduated, and some are going to start their college careers. So that's the sad note, and hopefully that the family can cope with this in the best way they can. The other thing, which is on the other extreme, is that Memorial Weekend is Cristo Rey Fiesta. Okay? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And where it's a fiesta festival, it's also to invite the community to come and get together, share some time. The community of Cristo Rey welcomes everyone, and we want to just welcome, have a good time, and enjoy the not only the food, but the music and the camaraderie, and so on and so forth. So you're all invited to be there. A special note, on Sunday, we will have a special ceremony in salute to our veterans. And as I speak, Mr. Arroyo was a veteran of the Vietnam War. He was a Marine. So in a special way, we're going to be honoring him, his memory, as a recently deceased veteran who was, again, a Vietnam veteran. So you're all invited, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Any other questions or comments from board members? May I have a motion to adjourn? It's been moved by Dr. Kavanaugh, supported by Ms. Williams. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 9-0, and at 9:03, we are adjourned.